Released in 2007, 4 years after the original, Wrong Turn 2: Dead End represents a pivotal moment in the Wrong Turn franchise and in the direct-to-video (DTV) horror market of the late 2000s. Director Joe Lynch, a self-professed lifelong horror fanatic, took the foundational premise of the original, a tense atmospheric chase film, and deliberately mutated it into an unapologetic, hyper-gory, meta-splatter spectacle. The original Wrong Turn was often compared to early 1970s backwoods horror films like The Hills Have Eyes, emphasizing psychological dread and survival. Lynch's sequel, however, is a clear love letter to the bombastic, inventive, and often darkly humorous slasher sequels of the 1980s, such as Friday the 13th Part 2 and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This shift from a suspense-driven thriller to a special effects-driven gore-fest is the core distinction of Dead End. Lynch's mandate. Lynch was given creative latitude that is rare in sequels, and he used it to infuse the film with high energy and a palpable enthusiasm for the genre. He focused on making the film faster, bloodier, and more fun, using the sequel as an opportunity to correct the perceived shortcomings of the original by delivering maximum shock value. Embracing the absurdity. While the original maintained a grim realism, Wrong Turn 2 gleefully leans into the absurdity of its premise. This self-aware approach is integral to its cult appeal, signaling to the audience that the film knows exactly what it is and intends to deliver exactly what the genre demands: outrageous kills and ridiculous situations. 1.2. The narrative device. Reality TV as cannibal fodder. The decision to frame the carnage within a reality television show, The Ultimate Survivalist, The Appalachian Experiment, is the film's most potent meta-commentary. This device serves multiple creative and thematic purposes. Instant stereotypes. The reality show premise allows for the introduction of thinly sketched yet immediately recognizable character archetypes: the final girl, Nina; the jock, Jake; the bitch, Elena; the joker, Jonesy; and the goth, Amber. This rapid character deployment saves time and allows the film to quickly move to the violence, as the audience is already familiar with the horror movie rulebook regarding these character types. The voyeurism critique. The contestants wear head-mounted cameras and are constantly recorded. This element serves as a satire of the voyeuristic nature of both reality TV and the horror genre itself. The audience, both the fictional crew watching on monitors and the actual film viewer, is implicated as passive observer of suffering, turning the victims into live-streamed meat. The illusion of control. The contestants believe they are in a safe, controlled, faux-apocalyptic environment competing for money. The terrifying irony is that their simulated survival game immediately collapses into a real survival struggle against a family that has been surviving brutally and effectively for generations. 2.0. Character dissection, cast, cannibals, and commentary. 2.1. The humans, subverting the slasher rules. The main human cast is intentionally drawn as horror stereotypes, only to surprise the audience by subverting the expected slasher mortality rules. Nina Pipas, Erica Learson. The initial grumpy vegan graphic designer, Nina is the designated final girl. She is initially portrayed as withdrawn and antisocial, but her intellect and resourcefulness prove essential to her survival. Learson plays Nina with a simmering intelligence that makes her eventual competence feel earned, rather than arbitrary. Colonel Dale Murphy, the casting of former Marine and punk icon Henry Rollins, is a major factor in the film's success. Rollins brings an intense, credible military discipline to his role as the host of the show. He is the ultimate authority figure whose militaristic arrogance about the wilderness is swiftly and gruesomely punished by the genuine primal survivalists. His Rambo-esque transformation in the second half of the film provides the initial hope that an expert might defeat the cannibals, a hope that is dramatically dashed. The Sacrificial Lamb. The brutal, dismembering death of Kimberly Caldwell in the opening sequence is a bold, almost Brechtian move. By killing a real-life reality star and having her play herself in such a savage way, the film immediately assures the audience that its rules are extreme and that celebrity status offers no protection. 2.2. The Cannibal Clan, a twisted family unit. Wrong Turn 2 shifts the focus from the single male hunters in the first film to a detailed 4-generation cannibal family, complete with grotesque domesticity. Ma and Pa. The introduction of the parents, Pa Ken Kersinger and Mom Misty Monday, grounds the horror in a bizarre, twisted normalcy. They're the patriarch and matriarch who enforce their savage lifestyle, saying grace before eating human flesh and displaying a perverse affection for their mutated children. Their relationship is disturbingly real, including Ma getting angry at Pa for masturbating over a contestant in a bikini. Brother and sister. The younger generation, brother and sister, are active, sexually charged, and highly violent participants in the hunts. Their incestual relationship is explicitly shown, emphasizing the total moral and genetic corruption of the family line due to decades of inbreeding and environmental toxicity. The origin story. The film expands the mythos by suggesting the family's mutation is due to toxic effluent dumped into the local river by an abandoned paper mill decades ago. This adds a layer of environmental horror, a theme common in 70s horror, and implies that the cannibals are, ironically, victims of industrial society turned into its harshest judges and executioners. The appearance of the old man from the first film, who is revealed to be the father of the original three cannibals, further connects the franchise and provides a momentary, albeit quickly resolved, sense of lore. 3.0. Technical execution, gore, effects, and direction. 3.1. Director Joe Lynch's energetic style. Director Joe Lynch's direction is characterized by a manic energy that keeps the pacing tight and the intensity high. His goal was to make the film feel like a roller coaster ride of blood and guts. Pacing and atmosphere. Lynch eschews the atmospheric tension of the original, favoring rapid escalation. The film quickly moves from the reality show premise to the full-blown nightmare, rarely letting up the pressure until the credits roll. Visual flair. Lynch employed inventive camera techniques, sometimes utilizing the character's head-mounted camera eyes, like the Blair Witch Project, to immerse the audience in the chaos. The camera often moves dynamically, tracking the action and the kills with fluid energy, giving the film a slick, modernized slasher aesthetic. The triumph of practical effects. Lynch's insistence on practical special effects for the gore is arguably the film's single greatest creative decision and a major factor in its cult success. Todd Masters, Masters FX, the team at Masters FX delivered memorable, tangible, and viscerally unsettling practical effects that made the deaths feel impactful and real, avoiding the floaty or unconvincing look of early 2000s CGI gore. Iconic kills. The practical effects shine in the film's most notorious scenes. The bisected body of Kimberly Caldwell, where the remains are graphically shown being dragged away. The razor wire strangulation of Colonel Murphy, a protracted, agonizing death that feels grounded in practical horror. And the DeBarker grinder sequence in the finale, where the practical mutilation of the bodies of Ma and Pa provides an extremely satisfying and spectacularly messy cinematic climax. Bear McCreary's mutated score. The music, composed by Bear McCreary, who is rapidly becoming a major name in TV film scoring, is a perfect reflection of the film's thematic content. Appalachian noise. McCreary utilized traditional folk instruments like the banjo, fiddle, and acoustic guitar to establish the backwoods setting. However, he heavily distorted and layered these instruments with heavy percussion and unsettling synthetic sounds. The score mirrors the cannibals themselves, something familiar and natural, folk music, twisted into something monstrous and unrecognizable, horror score. This sonic tension underpins the film's atmosphere of perverted domesticity and savagery.
The film's middle act effectively dismantles the reality show structure, forcing the remaining contestants to abandon their manufactured personas and confront primal horror. The key turning point is the moment the contestants realize the horror is real and their only true leader, Colonel Murphy, is dead. The heroic shift. Characters like Jake, the veteran with a troubled past, shed their typical reality show roles and revert to true survivalist instincts. Jake's knowledge of the military and the terrain briefly elevates him to a leadership position, contrasting the chaos and panic that consumed the other characters. This shift highlights a common theme in survival horror, the failure of modern civility in the face of absolute savagery. Contrasting environments. The contestants are initially equipped with survival gear, but the cannibals' terrain knowledge and sheer animal cunning prove superior. The wilderness, intended to be the stage for a television show, becomes an active antagonist, forcing the survivors into the cannibals' established hunting grounds and ultimately into the decaying industrial heart of the family's existence. 5.2. The paper mill setting, the dead end. The film wisely brings the final confrontation away from the woods and into the abandoned paper mill, a crucial setting that reinforces the film's title, Dead End, and its underlying themes. Industrial decay. The paper mill is the literal source of the toxic waste that created the cannibals' physical deformities. By forcing the final battle here, the film suggests the cannibals are the monstrous spawn of industrial neglect and pollution. The setting symbolizes the cyclical nature of destruction. Corporate greed poisoned the land, and the land responded by birthing predators to cleanse, or eat, the perpetrators, modern society. The final girl in the labyrinth. Nina and Jake navigate the mill's dark, labyrinthine structure, a dangerous maze of machinery, conveyor belts, and toxic runoff. This environment effectively traps the survivors, setting the stage for the film's over-the-top, mechanized climax. 6.0. The climactic showdown. Machine versus monster. 6.1. The mechanical slaughter. The climax is where director Joe Lynch fully indulges in the inventive mechanical gore he promised. The conflict pits the primitive, savage strength of the cannibal parents, Ma and Pa, against the remaining survivors utilizing the industrial machinery of the mill. Jake's sacrifice, where he uses his knowledge of explosives, dynamite-tipped arrows, and strategy to damage the family, is a classic moment of sacrificial heroism. His actions are necessary to thin the numbers and allow Nina, the true final girl, to escape. The Debarker Grinder. The death of Ma and Pa in The Debarker and Grinder is the film's spectacular centerpiece kill. It's a shocking, drawn-out moment of extreme practical gore, where the audience witnesses the parents being literally pulped by the machine. This is a satisfying, if gruesome, piece of poetic justice. The very industry that created them is used to destroy them. A final bloody exclamation point on the theme of industrial horror. 6.2. The thematic resolution. The unstoppable lineage. Despite the spectacular deaths of Ma and Pa, the film ends not with triumph, but with a chilling affirmation of the cannibals' resilience, the birth. Ma, even while being hunted, gives birth to another mutated baby. This final scene is one of the most effective closing notes in modern horror sequels. It signifies that the family line is unstoppable and regenerative. The conflict is not won, it merely pauses until the next generation is ready to hunt. The dead end meaning. The title Dead End refers not just to the remote road taken by the contestants, but to the cyclical, self-perpetuating existence of the cannibals, a horrific genetic dead end that endlessly renews itself through incest and savagery. 7.0. Critical and fan reception. The cult status. 7.1. Genre acclaim and the DTV renaissance. Wrong Turn 2: Dead End is consistently hailed by critics and fans as the benchmark for direct-to-video horror sequels in the 2000s. A smart exploitation film, critics praised it for achieving a rare balance, being an over-the-top exploitation film while simultaneously being self-aware and intelligently executed. It understood its audience's demand for inventive gore, but delivered it with a technical competence and pace rarely seen in DTV features. Elevating the franchise. The film is credited with saving the Wrong Turn franchise. The original film was successful but somewhat forgettable. Wrong Turn 2 gave the series a distinct, gory, and energetic identity that cemented its place in the horror landscape. Subsequent entries struggled precisely because they failed to replicate the balance of humor, meta-commentary, and practical gore that Joe Lynch achieved. 7.2. Awards and legacy. While it was a DTV release, the film's quality did not go unnoticed by genre authorities. Gérard Mer International Film Festival, Best DTV Award, winning this award was a major validation, confirming that the film stood out among its low-budget peers. The cult following. The film enjoys a highly active cult following, with fans often citing the cast, particularly Henry Rollins, the practical gore effects, and the inventive deaths for its rewatchability. It became a staple on horror streaming services and DVD shelves, ensuring its continuous relevance. 7.3. Enduring thematic strength. The film's most powerful legacy lies in its successful blend of different horror subgenres. Survival horror, the basic premise of being hunted in the woods; splatter and gore film, the relentless focus on extreme practical effects; eco-horror, the subtle critique of industrial toxicity creating the monsters; meta-horror, the satire of reality TV and the horror genre itself. By combining these elements with an explosive pace and a sense of irreverent fun, Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, transcended its humble origins and secured its place as a quintessential, high-energy modern horror sequel.